Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Alex with Plugin Alliance, and in this video we're going to look at the features of the BX Oberhausen. For this demonstration I'm using Ableton Live and I'm using BX Oberhausen as a VST synth. For starters, when you instantiate this plugin, you're going to hear a saw wave. It's going to be monophonic. So how do we get started? Well, the first thing to ask yourself is, what do you want to create? Do you want to create a bass patch that's going to be monophonic? Or if you're going to be playing chords, then you're going to go with polyphonic. And on the left side, you're going to have the general section, which gives you control to volume, portamento, legato, pitch bend up and down, which is going to be assignable from your MIDI controller, transpose, voices, TMT, and unison. So for example, if I'm playing a C minor scale, and I feel that the range is too high, I can just bring this transpose down. Or I can tune the frequency of my oscillator. To reset that to its default setting, you can click Command click on a Mac or Control click on a Windows. Alright, so let's bring the transpose down by 1 octave, and let's change this from monophonic to polyphonic. So we'll choose 8 voices, and now I can play a chord. So what you're hearing right now is basically VCO1. This is only one oscillator indicated right here, VCO1, and here's your mixer. If I want that oscillator to be poles instead of saw, I can just dial this to the right. If I go left, it's going to be saw. Now if I put this in the middle, you're not going to get any sound. You're going to see the LED activity, but you're not going to get any sound. And this is because both oscillators can either be saw or poles, but not both. So let's switch this to poles and play a chord. Now let's check out some of the modulation parameters within the oscillator. Right below the frequency, you have modulation. When you dial this to the left, it's going to create frequency modulation. That can be triggered by envelope 1 or LFO 1, which is this right here. So if I dial this back and crank the speed up, you're going to hear fluctuating on the pitch. If you go the opposite direction, you're going to have pulse width modulation. This is going to give you more of a chorusing type of effect. Okay, very good. Let's dial this back to 0. Below that, you have the pulse width and spread. And this is a great feature that I personally enjoy about this plugin, is that you can have these rich stereo spreads of your synth. So to do that, just increase pulse width and increase the spread. Check it out. And lastly, what I'll do here is increase the attack and decay of envelope 1. So this entire time we've been listening to just one oscillator, which is VCO1. If we want to dial in VCO2, all we got to do is go to the mixer and choose saw or pulse. So let's bring this to saw and let's increase the frequency. So this is going to be 12 semitones up, basically an octave higher than oscillator number 1. Okay, the synth itself sounds a little bit bright to me, so let's dig into the VCF, which is a voltage control filter section. Here you have frequency and resonance, which is typical to all synths, and then you can apply modulation, which can be triggered by envelope 2, which is this down here, or LFO 1, as we saw earlier. Bring the frequency down, crank the modulation up, and then we'll set this to low pass filter. Here on envelope 2, we'll create a little bit of a swell by increasing our attack and decay. Very nice. If we want this to be a little bit brighter, we can just bring up our frequency. Another thing that you can do, which is real interesting about this synth, is that you can choose the filter to be bandpass, low pass, or high pass. And you can notice that it's variable between low pass and high pass. So while I sweep this, you're going to hear the movement from low pass to high pass. Check it out. What's cool too is that you can modulate this using the modulation section above. For example, I can choose LFO1, which is this right here as a source, and I can send it to VCF type, which is going to be this right here. Check it out. And in the modulation section, you want to make sure that you enable the on button above the modulation slot. You have up to 9, and you can assign them from different sources to different destinations. Also, what's interesting and unique about this plugin is that you can choose different curves. So you can see it displayed by the shape there. So this is pretty interesting. Also, you can apply some effects, which is some of my favorite tools within this plugin because it allows you to do further tone shaping. The signal flow is from left to right, and you can drag these in any order. In fact, you'll notice some similarities between some of the Brainworx plugins and here on this synth. So for starters, let's apply some reverb. We'll put this first, enable it, bring the feedback down and the mix down. Next, let's apply a little bit of digital delay, but we'll put the digital delay before the reverb. And then lastly, we'll apply a little bit of chorusing. Very nice. Below the effects section, you have the arpeggiator, where you can apply traditional arpeggiator modes, such as scaling up and down, chord, and random. Here we go, let's enable it. On the clock section, you can use the divider, which is going to determine the speed and also the swing. Lastly, you can turn it off by clicking on this power button. Now, up to this point, we've covered the basics, such as transposition, voices from monophonic to polyphonic, oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, and modulation applied to the filter. But what if you don't like the sound design? What if you just wanted to get started right away with some killer patches? Well, you can do that as well. You can click on this preset manager, and you can toggle and cycle through all these presets. These are broken down into different categories such as types, subtypes, modes, author, and bank. Now, if you don't want to cycle through all these presets, you can just use this search tool. For example, let's search for a flute, and we'll try this one right here. Very nice. Let's take a look under the hood. So here we're using both oscillators set to pulse. Oscillator number 2 is tuned 24 semitones up, and this is set to sync. Let's take a look at the modulation. The modulation is applied by the mod wheel, but we can also apply an LFO, in this case LFO1, to VCF frequency. Very nice. If we wanted to make this a unison patch, because right now it's monophonic, we can enable unison and crank up the voices. Let's check out the effects. Right now we're using digital delay and reverb, and the arpeggiator is off, and the modulation section can be turned off as well. So the last thing I'll mention is for this plugin, if you want to dig deeper into the manual, you can click on this question mark, open manual, and you can read through all the geeky stuff. And also you can click on this MIDI icon, which changes the colors to the knobs and basically anything that you can MIDI assign using your MIDI controller. Don't forget, if you want to try this out for yourself, you can download a fully functional 14-day trial directly at Plugin Alliance. I'll leave a link on the comments below and also at the end of this video. Also, if you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them on the comments below. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys again real soon.